is a podcast that will come. We have conversation with tech trailblazers and facilitators, people that have set the trail and they've also contributed to making the world better by what they do. So today we have a very So today we have a very interesting guest, and his name is Goran Hilcher. Hope I'm correct with this pronunciation. So
yeah,
Goran. Yeah.
It's very well. I mean, like we can like phonetically translate it into go, run, heal, share.
Okay, Goran Hilcher. So Goran Hilcher is an analytical creative, a consultant, and also a facilitator. He's very big on people, on the people side of transformation. So he's somebody that loves people transformation, and he has a very strong knack for language and storytelling. He has a background in design thinking, communication science, system thinking, and of course, facilitation. So I'm going to officially welcome you to this show today. It's good to have you here, that we're having this conversation, and I'm so elated and excited to have you here because we've been talking about this for a while. So how are you doing? And welcome to Tech Sculptics.
Yeah, hey Benedict, what can I say? I mean, like with this infectious opening, I'm just like more than enticed like to give my best and share with the audience what I experienced so far or how I can reflect upon things. I'm very curious about your questions, and I hope the bird outside is not disturbing too much. The bird,
yeah,
because it's spring here in Berlin and very sunny, and it's yeah, this makes it very beautiful, like, you know, like to really like jump into this probably very challenging, but also like very, very like exciting year.
Wow, that's interesting. I know you have a lot going on, and probably maybe some other time or before we end the podcast, I'm going to bring that question in about your facilitation, transition, and all that. And you know, from your introduction, people know that you have background in design thinking, system thinking, and all those stuff. So, but today I'm bringing you in for specifically some questions that have been bothering me, and I know a lot of my audience will want to hear this. No, now before we begin, this podcast is supposed to be the second episode. Unfortunately, this is the first episode. I have to give credit to AJ Prakash. AJ Prakash is the CEO and founder of Entry Level. Entry Level is a place where you get trained on entry level skills, on digital skills, on tech skills, and they'll help you build a portfolio and all those kind of stuff. So I'll encourage everyone that want to be trained on tech to go to Entry Level. So AJ Prakash is actually the person that inspired this podcast, really. So I was supposed to have a session with him before now, but we're still trying to get that figured out. He actually came on the show, but some things happened technically that we couldn't have that out. But thank you so much for coming in, Goran, and now you are the first on the show. So you are our first tech sculptor. Anybody coming on this show is a tech sculptor. So you are our first tech sculptor. So it is. So I'm going to jump right into the questions immediately so we'll get our conversations going. Hope you don't mind that. Okay. Okay. So how can we ensure that technological advancement enhances rather than diminish our connection as humans?
Yeah, that's a very like crucial question in the whole matter, and it connects like very well with actually like an interview I saw between a Zimbabwean elder and a YouTuber just a couple of days ago, where like this American dude was like doing the interview with that elder that said like, you know, the most important thing is like in order to be happy, to be surrounded by good people, by community, and enjoy the time together. And in my observation, that's really something due to the technical advancement that we are more and more squeezed into optimization, acceleration, speeding up, and losing a little bit track from where we come from. Simply speaking, from sitting as a tribe around the bonfire. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Many, many years ago. So I think the first thing people should do is like see where the whole tech thing has brought them already and where they want to go with it. Because I increasingly see when I'm in companies that it's more the technology driving people than people driving technology.
Yeah.
So because technology's tentacles, so to say, are now like entangled, intertwined with almost all domains of our life. I mean,
Yeah.
look, you get up with technology, you optimize your day, you have a calendar, you communicate electronically. People are dating through online apps. We have like customer management systems. We have data collectors in industrial lines. So everything is now like turning into digital. We are already like amidst the whole thing. So, and I think like when there was the promises about the advancement of like future inventions and so forth, the first promises were like 100 years ago. Oh, with the future, with technologies, we will just have to work like 30% of what we have worked before.
Yeah.
But look where we have gotten, you know? Now we have even like more things to just squeeze in more things.
Yeah.
And that's the point where I say like, oh, we become so much fetishists of our tools that we forgot that there's something out of the menu of tools. So like the first question I would say is like what we use it for and where's the real advantage when their things get lost. And I think like in Western societies, even more than in African ones, because by my experience, like spending time in Africa, one word that I heard so often was really community.
Yeah.
You know, and our life in the West became already like due to the dynamics of capitalism and technology, very fragmented, very like torn apart in terms of we are not tribes anymore. We are not this kind of like community culture anymore. Everybody thinks like, oh, when I use a lot of technology, I can make more money, I can become more independent, but then they find themselves more lonely. So,
Wow.
and there's a lot of things like, especially with the times of COVID, we could observe no high-tech communication platform will replace being like in communion with other people
Yeah.
in the same place. Because there's
Right.
like some magic exchanged when we are
Exactly.
sitting together and having a good time with friends, with colleagues, with family.
Yeah, and that's really correct because as the technological advancement is really changing rapidly, is very fast. Like you can't even keep up with the tabs with the way things are changing and everything is happening so fast and all that. And this innovation is actually impacting our lives so much. And I want to ask, like, how do you think it is impacting us individually and also collectively, our well-being as a people? How can we navigate these changes mindfully? How can we navigate these changes mindfully? How can we just go through this as humans? How do we um, how do we kind of like balance this so that we don't lose that sense of our humanity, basically?
And that's a crucial question. I think like a lot of us would love to escape that already. It refers quite well to a meme I lately found, and I think it got quite viral through X, where a woman just stated, with all the AI things we have, we still didn't manage that my laundry is done and the cooking and stuff, but instead of like taking away all my household work due to AI, I'm now like seeing, like I still continue doing like the housework, but it replaces everything I would have done creatively, like writing or painting pictures.
Yeah.
So of course we are stunned and fascinated by it, but the question is like really like how we getting replaced. So what is getting
I'm
replaced and
I'm
how
I'm
also like,
actually losing, people are losing using pen and paper. Using pen and paper is now becoming something of the past. Like many people like some people have for months would not have used pen and paper, and I don't know.
yeah. So there's even like some school systems that went back from digital media, I think like somewhere in Scandinavia, and like they'll go back to pen and paper and everything that's tangible because
Wow.
something that digital media has not reached so far, and I think we are in a total process of adaptation, is to help us thrive and grow our cognitive capabilities with that media. Because it's all proven that if you have a spatial, a tangible, a sensual experience, because like people feel their life is senseless, and that we can even take literally when we just like spending in front of a rectangle all day,
Yeah.
staring into it and like mimicking connection.
Mm.
Meanwhile, we are sitting at home in a fridge, everything is delivered, and we are so fascinated by optimization, but
Yeah.
we are not so fascinated anymore by community or by just having an easy time spent together. Everything
Yeah.
is optimized. And when we go back, for instance, to the topic of online dating, where I wrote even my diploma in, you could see in the last 20 years, the whole talking about love, relationship, and intimacy got totally like drilled by vocabulary that comes from the market. You know, it turned the marketplace itself, and even these apps that look like yeah, like online market, like online marketing places. They're like comparable to eBay or Amazon. Less features, but still, like we become already products. And 15 years ago, there was a very like foresight focused book from Sherry Turkle. She was a sociologist, and the book was already called Alone Together, and she investigated the 15 years from I think like 1990 onwards till 2005, how mobile phones broke apart the society with the simple fact that there is a distortion in the relationship of parents and children when the parents are waiting at school, but not looking at the children to come, but they're looking at the BlackBerry or nowadays at the iPhones. And you see these habits today now. I mean, this is like extremely dopamine trigger machines, right? And this extreme dopamine trigger machines, they turn us in hostages of technology. And you have like kids now, when you take them away their social media, they are just lost. They get panic attacks. And that's something I think we were not really aware. The big question is just why the inventors of all these apps, or the owners of the big tech companies, why they send their kids to schools where they don't use such media. And the answer is, of course, because it totally would violate the development of their brain and of their spatial and cognitive capabilities. But in order to cope with a world that's so turning towards complexity these days, it's freaking important to unfold and super develop all capabilities that this technology that we have, our body and our brain, works very well together. And it's proven, if we just are in front of a screen, in a way, we, simply speaking, turn more stupid.
Yeah, you're right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's really true. So I'll just cut in on the third question. What role do ethics and responsibility play in the development and adoption of new technologies? And how can we strive for a future where technology serves humanity in a positive and equitable manner?
Yeah, that's such a justified question. First attempt, I would say, like, okay, we have to democratize that. The question is, like, what does it mean? Like, when we even see that the systems of democracy are like falling into rubble more and more.
Yeah.
So, and you just have to imagine, like, oh, I mean, the social media, the things that altered the way so massively, like that, how we operate, collaborate, how we live, how we date, how we cope with things, how we get information, how we share information, even if we are not asked, we are sharing it all the time. How can this serve like whole humanity when it's just in the hand of 5 people? When you talk about the big 5 in tech, for instance. So because there is big questions of ethics. We have countries that probably even develop technologies out of a ethical framework that is maybe aligned with what like the Western world understands it. I know like Africa may like come up with their own ethics, but we are now like a global species. So, and it's probably like a very big challenge in the future to somehow keep on track with taming all the ills that come with that. You know, it's like, I mean, everything, like, you know, you can cut bread with your knife or you can stab someone, depends to the knife, but I mean, it's all up on us. But if I know that people get lost on the way, when I know that people from lower educational standards, they haven't, compared to the other people in society, have an increased screen time, I think that's alarming signs. And we know it makes freaking addictive. And we know even the big tech companies or the big app companies, they hire neuroscientists to find out how to UX design the applications to keep people longer on it because of penetration time, as they're like most likely like advertisement based in like how they finance themselves. So it's a question who will become like the global committee to extract from all mankind what is kind of the smallest denominator in terms of the ethics we apply to them. So, and you know, like I have one of my favorite proverbs was from Max Frisch, is a novelist, I think from Switzerland, like almost 100 years ago. And he said, everybody tells them himself or herself like a story that we consider being our life.
Hmm. Wow.
So, and what I use very often in my workshop formats is I call it like proverb hijacking or quote hijacking. So I use the proverb and recontextualize it with nowadays. And we use that thing from Max Frisch that once said, everybody tells themselves a story that they think is themselves or considers to be their lives.
Yeah.
Today is like we ongoingly every day get told stories that we are supposed to think it's our life. Yeah, because you can see the increased number of body shaming issues like young people have because they see like all this like super shaved men and women online and shame starts. There you see like a lot of envy kicks in. Like my fellow friends from Tanzania, from Kenya told me, wow, the problem with internet regarding like dating and mating comes from the increased possibility of comparison. And so people see what they could probably have, and then they lose proportion if they really can probably have that. So, but in their behavior, it applies in a way that probably out of their former scope of maybe a possible mate, they just like choose the top notch, the cherry on the cake, and the other ones they remain empty. So it's causing disbalance in society that, yeah, like I mean, social psychologists or sociologists know about, and we can see it in stats and stuff. So, but who that owns maybe like I stick with the example of an online dating company, who that owns a company and makes millions per day, with the longing of people, with the most prior longing we come into this world, yeah, to be loved and to be like accepted, is willing to say, yeah, that's really cruel to society. I will shut down my app. Because look, if you look at the business model of an online dating app, I would assume there can't be a real interest to bring people in long-term relationships because it would totally like cannibalize their market, right? Makes no sense. So we always to question like who is the biggest, who gains the biggest profit of each app, and then we can see with the implication or like the costs and the benefits, you know, like if how they are in balance, and then we can discuss ethics. You can give everything a nice campaign and a knight in shiny armor, like you know, like corporate design and stuff. So, but the implications are very big today.
Yeah.
So, and the technologies often come so quickly before someone even can fathom or estimate the impact that has on us and our well-being as people. And I don't say it's only bad. There's a lot of great advantages that come with it. But I think with the rapid intro in society and the power it has, and of course, everybody of us loves shortcuts.
Yeah.
And
I think that's actually what makes technology thrive. Everybody wants something quick, want to save time, we want to be able to save our energy and all those stuff. So those are some of the things that makes these things
exactly. That's also the very nature of our brains, you know, like the brain burns glucoses. So whenever you have the chance to just skip that step, so not to burn this energy, that's amazing. Yeah, of course, people.
Our time is actually very fast spent. I would have loved us to continue this conversation, but we have barely like a minute to go. But I would, before you go, I just want, if you can, in a couple of seconds, just say something about your plans for your facilitation programs in Africa. So that we'll be able to go out there in our program.
Oh, totally. I loved really in the beginning how you like said like, okay, like facilitation is kind of a tool to bring people together. Yeah, you saw like when we spoke initially like last summer, like you like coined this sentence of like, hey, facilitation is about bringing everybody in, and I really love that.
Yeah.
And facilitation or design thinking, you know, where originate from like professionally, utilizes a lot of storytelling, and storytelling implies story listening. And with the rush of tech, we lost a bit the capability to listen to each other properly.
Yeah.
There was the author, like a fascinating philosopher here from Berlin, Korean philosopher. He wrote a book about the crisis of narration, and you used even the word narrative. And he outlined that the issue with tech is that the tech is kind of like fragmenting the narratives that kept us together. You know, a story told from the elders to the grandson and granddaughters.
Yeah.
to get the message of life, which is like was continually told. And today people share stories which are not even stories, they just like hijack the term